Oh, look at that. The sun is shining, a special mid-afternoon version of the second balcony. Um, I'm here. I'm Greg Boysen with our resident Gordon Lightfoot expert and Florida man, Frank Nova. How are we doing? Taking time off of his lunch break to be here and talk hockey with all you excited listeners.
How is that for dedication? And sadly, like the Gales of November, I also come early.
Well,
let's hit the ground running this week.
It's better than Santa, who only comes once a year.
And when he does, he brings a bag.
All right. So, we'll see you next week, guys.
Yeah, we covered everything already.
Phrasing. All right.
I forgot to bring a pen and paper to count how many times I say it's funny.
Well.
So we'll see how that goes.
Somebody replied
Bob
to
has
me.
To do it.
Yeah. Somebody will get that running stat, I'm sure. Somebody replied to me, I think it was on Blue Sky or somewhere, to one of my posts saying, not to sound like Fork, but it's kind of funny how so it's catching on.
Who knew that was going to be a thing? And I caught my wife doing it, and I've caught my mother doing it. So I don't know where the origin of it is, but anyway,
it's what, I'll take that over the amount of times hockey players say obviously, or in a interview.
is the classic timing mechanism.
Yeah, obviously is something hockey players say a lot, or and almost every answer starts with obviously,
Well, so is there anybody on the Hawks now who has a lot of A's at the end?
Not really, no. We used to joke that if you could kill yourself if you played the Kevin Korchinski drinking game, where if you had a shot every time he either went yeah or obviously in an interview. He's gotten better as he's gotten used to it, but
that's probably what he's working on down at Rockford.
Apparently, just work on your interview game, so people want to talk to you more. Forget about the hockey. Just get better at interviews.
I remember one time I had a conversation with Reed Simpson, and Reed is so Canadian. If you wanted to do a blood test, you'd stab him and just maple syrup would come out. And every sentence ended with A, which, it sounds beautiful coming out of a hockey player.
Yeah, there's not too many A's in the Hawks locker room these days. And Reed Simpson is at almost every Hawks game. He's a pro scout, I think, for Montreal.
I think you are correct.
But I think he still lives in the area. And he's almost at every Hawks game scouting. I want to have one of those gigs. I mean, those guys, I'm sure they do some stuff, but it's just a lot of meeting in between periods in the common area, eating cookies and drinking coffee and telling old stories. I love to try and bend my ear and listen to what those guys are talking about.
Yeah, well, he's one of Chelly's crew, right?
Yeah, he's one of Chelly's buddies. He was there for his retirement a couple years ago, and he's part of that gang.
It's gonna be, those scouts will be a lot more prevalent once the Steel starts playing at Fifth Third.
Probably, for sure.
Those guys will camp out and just scout the whole USHL.
Yeah, I mean, there's different. These are more the pro guys. The ex-NHL guys are more the pro guys, so they scout other NHL teams. Or they're also a lot of the same group are the same guys that are at Ice Hogs and Wolves and AHL games. So probably a different group that will be at the Chicago Steel games. There's more the amateur scouting is different from the pros.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. There's going to be a ton of people at all those games.
You're looking at pro scouts look at what a guy is, and amateur scouts look at what a guy can be.
Yeah, the pro scouts are there to kind of
analysis.
Yeah, they're looking for trade candidates. They're taking down notes on teams. So when their team plays them, they kind of got the book on them. So yeah, a bit of a different gig, but I always enjoyed, the couple years I got to scout for a couple different teams in the North American Hockey League. I mean, that I always enjoyed the scouting aspect of it. And then COVID came and put an end to that, and never got back to that part. But I always enjoyed.
And now you've fallen so far, you're doing a podcast with Mr. It's Funny.
Yeah, I mean, life comes at you fast.
It does. It does indeed. Speaking of fast, Oliver Moore's been looking okay.
Yeah, he's doing exactly what you want him to do. I mean, he fits that third line perfectly with Ilya Mikheyev and Ryan Donato. I know when they called him up earlier in the week, there was an optional morning skate that day, so we had no idea where he would line up. But to me, putting him with Donato and Mikheyev made all the sense in the world, and we saw how effective they could be in that Vancouver game. They were just a beast on the forecheck. The Mikheyev goal was created by Moore getting behind the net, winning a puck battle, and getting it out front. Even having a guy draped all over him still made that play. It was a really great play.
That was the thing. I was really impressed with his strength on that play. Like I'd heard that he had spent the summer in the gym. I'd heard he put on like eight to 10 extra pounds of muscle. And, I think last year that's when he would have been knocked off the puck.
Yeah, you're probably right. And that's part of the thing that's been impressive about this team overall is, they're really fast, one of the fastest teams in the league right now, but they're also, their willingness and ability to win one-on-one battles has been so good this year and so improved. Like, we never saw that kind of consistent wins at one-on-one battles over the last couple of years. Like, you could be the fastest team in the world, but you still got to be able to, win those tough battles in the course of a game. And they've been doing that consistently all season. It's been so impressive. I mean, it's the Jeff Blashill effect.
Yeah. And, was it Laz who just wrote the article in The Athletic about the Hawks have dogs or something like that? And I can't remember if it was Laz or Scott. One of the two.
I think it's Laz. He's on the trip, so it had to be him.
Okay. And the thing that you kind of see it in the style of play. I mean, I'm not in the room, so I don't hear the guys and I don't see how they're acting. It just kind of feels like there's a shift in mindset. They're not good enough to go out and expect to win every night. But I kind of felt like the last couple years they felt lucky with every point they got. And I feel like this year their attitude is more of, look, these, they might make a meal out of us, but we'll at least get a sandwich out of them.
Right.
Sort of thing. And like tonight they're playing in Calgary. And to me, that's 2 extremely gettable points. And they're playing Detroit in a couple of games. And again, they should be able to take a couple points. And you don't want to think of the Hawks as a team that's chasing points, but I do think that they're looking like a team that, and we can go back to our preseason predictions, and neither of us called 80 points, and they're looking like an 80-point team.
Yeah, I mean, they're well on pace for well over that right now. I mean, they're flirting with high 90s with their pace. And listen, tonight is a gettable game, as you said.
Yeah.
This is one of the few times over the past couple of seasons they're the better team on paper. Calgary, they've won 2 in a row, but Calgary is more this year what they were supposed to be last year. Last year, people thought they were going to be, one of the worst teams in the league, and they were in contention for a playoff spot to the very end.
Yeah.
This year, they're looking more like that, one of the worst teams in the league. They can't score. Their special teams isn't very good. They don't have any real dynamic players right now. And their stud goalie from a year ago has taken a step backwards. So this is a one of those rare moments, especially on the road, where the Blackhawks are the favorites and they need to take advantage of that. And they win today, they're guaranteed 5 points on a 6-game road trip coming home. They could get up to 7 if they win these last 2 games. Nobody, I don't think, would have predicted 7 points on this 6-game road trip ahead of the season. And it would be a huge win.
would have been happy. I would have been happy with 4 or 5.
Right. And they have a chance to do that. They get 2 points tonight. That's 5.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you grab a point on Detroit. Maybe you lose in overtime or a shootout. You get a point. That's 6 points in 6 tough road games. That's big. And part of that reason, I think Laz talked about it in that same article you were referring to a moment ago, is this team's attitude has completely changed. And I think some of that has to do with the new coaching staff, and some of that has to do with all these young guys now in the room taking over. The last couple of years, they were resigned to their fate. They knew going into the season, like, this could be bad. We're going to lose every night. Moral victories are okay. Hey, we only lost by 2 last night. Hey, way to go, guys. Now they lose a game in Seattle like they did earlier this week. They're mad about it. They're like, we shouldn't have lost that game. We need to win that game. And then they come out the next night. Spencer Knight stands on his head for 2 periods, and then they blow out the Canucks in the 3rd period. That's the difference of this team than what we've seen pretty much since, Kyle Davidson took over. They're no longer resigned to, things that have derailed this team time and time again over the past 3 seasons aren't happening. They allow a goal, they come back the next shift and almost get it back. They don't, they don't let bad calls take them out. They don't let bad periods take them out. They're resilient, and that's, again, part of the Jeff Blashill effect, but also part of just this young team. I think they're too, I don't think naive is the right word. I just think they're too inexperienced to know that these are the type of things that could easily derail a team, and they're just building.
And one of the things that I'm liking that Blashill's doing, because also in the piece, PDO gets mentioned, and the PDO is not in line with the results. And a lot of that is Spencer Knight. But also part of it is that Blashill is being really effective at recognizing players' strengths and weaknesses and using them accordingly. So, like, if you go to Natural Stat Trick and you look at the possession numbers on the Hawks, and Artem Lezhinov has the best Corsi for percentage on the team, which is great. But then you also look, and he has the most offensive zone starts on the team. So it's great that he's got the good possession numbers, but also Blashill's been careful about not putting him in a position where things can get off the rails for him. And I've talked before about Rinzel in his own zone and with the puck, and he's jittery in his own zone with the puck, and I'm sure word has gotten around the league that if you're in the Hawks zone and Rinzel's got the puck, just go after him. And that's going to continue to happen until it's going to continue to work until it doesn't. And that's up to the coaches and Rinzel. And that could also be the case with Levshinov, where, you don't want to give him everything to do all at once. Rinzel, you don't want to give him everything to do all at once. Rinzel has this, I'm beating on this one thing because it's the only thing in Rinzel's game. It's like the one hole he's got.
Right.
Once he addresses that hole, he fixes that hole, you got yourself one hell of an NHL defenseman. And
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, that's part of the beauty of the 7 defenseman system that Blashill's been using, that he can divvy it up and he could save Wyatt Kaiser and Alex Vlasic for those tough defensive zone starts and shelter these young guys, because so much with these young players is between the ears. It's confidence. And the best way to build a young player's confidence is consistently put him in positions to succeed. That is ultimately what a head coach's job is to do in any sport at any level, is put your players in a position to succeed. He has built his system and his game plans around what he has instead of the other way around. So many times in this very franchise's very recent history, we have seen coaches come in here and say, "This is how I play. You adjust to how I want you to play," as opposed to saying, "Okay, this is what you do best. Go out there and do that. This is what you do best. You go out there and do that. And you just stand there and not kill us."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I liked Luke Richardson. I liked him as a player. I liked his overall coaching philosophy. He was just the wrong guy for the players that he had.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He's a very smart guy, and he'll get another head coaching job. And hopefully, much like Jeff Blashill, he learns from that first experience and adapts and adjusts, because that's what it's all about in coaching. Is you have to constantly be willing to adjust how you go from shift to shift, to game, to year to year. I mean, that's why Bill Belichick was so successful. Is he had some of the greatest players that ever play, but he also knew how to use them correctly, and he won different ways. Every season that they won wasn't the same way. He adjusted.
Oh, when he was the Giants defensive coordinator, you would see a completely different defense every week. So you might see a 3-4 one week, you might see a 4-3 the next. You might see 2 down linemen and they'd run a dime the whole game, depending on who they were playing. And Belichick was smart enough, but also he had the players who were able to execute it. Because that's the other thing too. You could have the greatest ideas in the world. You could be the most brilliant hockey mind to ever walk God's green earth. If you don't have the right guys to execute what's rattling around in your head, then it's just not going to work.
Right.
So it's a little bit of both. And the one thing the Hawks still have to work on this year is, I know one of your boy Jeremiah over at Black Hawk Up wrote a piece about the power play. And I was watching the power play, and it's like, I feel like it's the same old Hawks power play. It's one of these things where it doesn't matter who is coaching the Blackhawks. They go into a room and they pull everything out of a file cabinet, and there's this one thing in the file cabinet is Blackhawks power play, and that Blackhawks power play never changes from coach to coach. It's always 5 guys go in the zone. They set up in that box and one. They have a shooter on one point to kind of be the playmaker. The only difference is where it used to be Patrick Kane on the right wing, it's now Connor Bedard on the left wing. But they kind of just move the puck around. And I'm like, okay, you have if you don't have the fastest team in the NHL, you have one of the fastest teams in the NHL. Move the bodies. Don't move the puck. Skate around, cycle, do something. Don't just stand there. Because every time a Blackhawks player is standing still, he's taking one of the biggest strengths he has away, which is his speed. Frank, don't put Frank Nazar down by the net. Have Frank Nazar buzzing the tower. Have him flying around. Make him a problem. Make him a coverage thing where all of a sudden, because he's zipping all over the ice, you've got 2 defensemen on him. They've got 4 guys on the ice, and 2 of them are on Nazar because nobody knows what he's doing, and there's got to be 2 guys wide open. That's, to me, that is like the most simple thing. And before we came on, we talked for a second about the Russian 5, and that was what made them so good. Was those guys were just in constant motion, constantly changing positions. It was like the triangle defense brought the hockey. It was just so good how it all worked. And that to me is kind of, as hockey is at its best when it's in motion. Having guys stand on their skates takes away the thing that makes hockey dynamic. And it's easy for me to sit here and analyze what I see on TV and come up with all this. Jeff Blashill is making a fairly decent chunk of change to put the plays together for these guys to follow, and I'm sure he's got to be thinking the same way. Like, hey, and even if he's not thinking what I'm thinking, which is move the guys around, he's at least thinking, hey, we need to score more on the power play. What do I have to do to make that happen? And, it goes beyond just Burakovsky on the first unit. Great. Burakovsky is great on the first unit. But even if Burakovsky is just going to stand there, it's not going to be as effective as if Burakovsky is moving around, if Nazar is moving around, Bedard's out there. Get these guys in motion. When you get guys moving around on the power play, when you have a man advantage, it's every mistake that the kill team makes gets magnified. So the more you get the killers moving, the more apt they are to make a mistake, the more apt they are to leave somebody uncovered. That's to me in my untrained eye, that's how you score goals on a power play.
No, it's hard to argue with that. And I think, when you look at the power play stats, the Hawks are literally right there, 17th. They're average. They're right in the middle league. So it's not terrible. It's just frustrating to watch when you have those power plays where, you get the puck for 2 minutes and you don't even get a shot on goal because a minute and 10 seconds of that is trying to get the puck in the zone. That's what I think the frustration is. Once they get the puck in the zone, they've been fine. It helps that, Tyler Bertuzzi just stands there and lets the puck hit off of him. That play works. Call that every time. Why aren't they doing that every time? But that can help.
Thomas Holstrom has his number up in Little Caesars Arena because that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, lots of guys have punched tickets to Hall of Fame for standing in front of the net and letting pucks hit them. It's a good way to do it. But those passes can become easier to Bertuzzi, and Bertuzzi can be allowed to stand there more, like you said, if there's more craziness going on in front of them. People will pay less attention to him. And Blashill switched it up a little bit. He put Burakovsky on the first line, the first unit, which to me made logical sense. They were having big time problems getting the puck in the zone. He's the best on the team at getting the puck in the zone. Not overthinking that move. Then the last game, he swapped Levshunov and Rinzel, and then put Tavo back on the top unit and put Nazar on the second unit. I mean, okay, I kind of want to keep Nazar and Bedard together, but and I liked the Levshunov Rinzel move until Levshunov, he's got to get that coached in him that the slingshot is recommended, but it's not necessary. I like that play was like, oh my God, that was more of like, I have to do this or else the coaches are going to get mad at me. Whoops, there's a guy right behind me. But he made up for it because moments later he got the secondary assist on the Bertuzzi goal by doing what a good power play quarterback should do. Found Bedard found Bertuzzi. It's in the back of the net. And shout out to Connor Bedard on that play too, because he made a great back check to prevent a shorthanded goal. And then seconds later, the Hawks had scored. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, Calgary takes a ton of penalties. They're 30th in the league in penalty minutes, so they should get plenty of chances tonight at the old Saddle Dome. So hopefully we see a little more of that movement and more success, because having, the Blackhawks have been so much better at 5-on-5 this season than anybody expected. I think they're top 10. They're top 10 in 5-on-5 goals this season. I mean, what a refreshing change from the last couple of years where they were almost dead last in everything 5-on-5.
I don't know how much of that is number 30 in your program.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they still got to score goals. They're scoring more goals at 5-on-5. So
and allowing fewer.
You're right, and playing better at 5-on-5 is something not many of us expected. That makes the power play kind of like, hey, imagine if you got the power play humming too. You're good at 5-on-5 and you're good on the power play. You could really, put something together here. So we'll see how that happens. What happens later tonight.
A big part of that too is the fact that, Connor Bedard is out there skating defenseman minutes.
Yeah,
he's 20 minutes a night. So It's nice when your best forward is able to skate that many minutes.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's another product of the the 11 forward, 7 defenseman. Yeah, because he's getting a lot of those extra shifts when it comes to and rightfully so. He's been good. Right now, the Blackhawks have 32 5-on-5 goals, which is tied for 5th in the league. Only 1 behind Carolina and Anaheim, 3 behind Colorado, and the Maple Leafs lead the NHL at 39. So they're up there with some of the elite teams in the league as far as 5-on-5 scoring. I don't think anybody expected that 14 games into the season.
Nope. And one thing the other thing we've talked about it before, is just how effective Tyler Bertuzzi's been. And he became the 8th player, I think, to have a hat trick with 3 different original 6 teams.
Sounds right. Yeah, he's on the pace to play for all 6 of them.
Yeah, I know the race is. Well, I was going to say Patrick Kane. I don't know if he's got enough time left to get to.
No,
because Kane needs 3.
Yeah, Bertuzzi only needs 2 more. He needs Montreal and Detroit.
Montreal and the
Bruins. No, he played for the Bruins. Who are we missing? Montreal, and why am I drawing a complete blank? He's played for Toronto, Boston, Detroit, and
Rangers.
The Blackhawks. Rangers, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an episode of the Second Balcony until we mention the Rangers.
Okay, one thing we're in school here, and we're gonna take a step back from current events for a second, because there's something I really want to talk about that I'm really interested in, and that is at the Windsor Film Festival this week had a documentary called Mr. Goalie, and it's a film about Glenn Hall, and it made its festival debut in Windsor, and they're going to be doing the festival circuit, and I think it's great timing for the movie, because the Blackhawks are doing their centennial celebration, and here you've got a documentary devoted to not just one of the greatest Blackhawks to ever lace up skates, but also I don't know if he's the oldest living Blackhawk. If he's not, he's got to be right up there.
He's in the team photo.
He's in the team photo, and he might be the last guy in the 61 Cup team photo. And he's just he's a really cool guy, really humble guy, and he's got a very dry sense of humor. Like I saw one interview, not with the documentary. I mean, maybe it's in the documentary, but I've seen an interview with Glenn Hall in the past talking about Tommy Ivan, where he says that it was always his dream to be he always wanted to be kept humble by not making too much money, and Tommy Ivan helped him achieve that. But
yeah, Arthur Wirtz had a hand in that too, though. Let's not sugarcoat that.
Yeah, like he was ready to be done when expansion came in. He was ready to be done, and Scotty Bowman went to him and said, "Hey, you want to come and goaltend for the Blues?" And Glenn said, "Pay me $50,000." And it was kind of like Bobby Hull with the Jets, where he just threw a number out, not expecting anybody to say yes. And the next thing you know, he's making $50,000, and he and Jacques Plante were the original goaltending tandem for the St. Louis Blues, which pretty decent goaltending tandem.
Pretty good. I mean, Glenn Hall, he was the goalie that gave up the Bobby Orr famous flying goal, was he not? Yeah, in the Cup final. Because the Blues made it to the Cup finals those first couple of years, because the NHL did silliness where they put the original 6 were one division and all 6 expansions were in the other. So for about 3 or 4 years, the Stanley Cup final was a complete waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. Although, the good thing was it put butts in the seats, because, it's one thing to go and see those really those teams were pretty bad. Those second six, there was a lot of guys who were pretty much done. And the Scotty Bowman. First of all, the Blues had Scotty Bowman, but also the Blues had that goaltending. They had Al Arbor. They had there were guys who still had just enough tread on the tires to where every night they can give an NHL team a tough time. But, like the Seals and the Kings were really, really bad back then. And I know that because those are the games my dad was able to get tickets to. We went to a Blues game, and the reason we went was because Glenn Hall was playing for the Blues. And my dad took me to one game the last season, in the 66-67 season. He took me to one game late in the year when they were breaking the Muldoon curse, finishing with the best record in the NHL. And I don't remember anything about who played. I'm assuming Glenn Hall was in net. I can't imagine that Dennis DeJordy was in there. I don't remember who the Hawks played. I don't remember anything about the game. I looked on Hockey Reference trying to guess. And, my dad's been gone since 2010. And to my knowledge, there were no ticket stubs or anything from the game. So I don't know. But, Glenn Hall playing for the Hawks, he was the first butterfly goalie. He innovated that entire style of goaltending. And it was kind of a self-taught thing from playing in his little, growing up in his barn I'm drawing a blank on the town in Saskatchewan. But it's the town. He lived in the town in Saskatchewan.
Humboldt,
Saskatchewan. Thank you very much. Humboldt, Saskatchewan, because remember a few years back, the Humboldt Mustangs with the bus crash.
Right.
And their home rink is the Glenn Hall Ice Center. So the rink is named after Glenn Hall in Humboldt, Saskatchewan. So he grew up there, and like he talks about how he would like wrap himself in bubble wrap because they just didn't have enough padding for him. And this was when in practice he had to face Hull and Nikita and their damn banana blades. And then in a game, like when Montreal came to town, he knew that Boom Boom Joffrion was going to be out there winding up and letting it rip against him. And he was out there, no mask, whatever he could do to cover his body. And, that's why he threw up before every game.
And he played 502 consecutive games. It's funny that we're talking about this today because it was on this date, November 7th, 1962, that Glenn Hall removed himself from his 502nd consecutive game with a back injury and ultimately ended that streak that will never even be close to being broken. He played not only 501 straight games, but he played every second, every minute of all those 501 games as a goalie in an elite, in an era where no mask, very little padding. I mean, I know there wasn't a lot of headhunting shots like you see today. They started, getting that way. That's why the masks came in. But I think Glenn Hall is maybe the most underrated legend of hockey. I don't think he gets talked about enough of how great he was and what he was able to accomplish, not only with the Hawks, just his entire career. And you don't see a lot of them. He retired and kind of, went on and did his thing and was happy not being in the spotlight. So every time he is brought in or you see him give an interview for one of the old NHL, shows, you're like, oh, this is special. It's got Glenn Hall involved. I'm going to watch this because you don't see a lot of him.
And that's why I really want to see this documentary.
Yeah.
And
I'm really very interested in it.
I'm really hoping that at some point it gets into the Chicago Film Festival. I'm sure the Blackhawks have some awareness of this film. It would be a fun thing for them to get involved with. And the thing I also don't know is I don't know how often the Blackhawks invite him. So come, I'm assuming every time they trot out legends, hey, Glenn, you want to come? Glenn's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would have loved to have him there on opening night for the 100th season, but
Yeah,
he's 94 years old. I don't think he's hopping
right.
on many planes these
Exactly.
days. Like, to be a goalie in the 50s and 60s and make it to 94, that's almost more
Yeah,
impressive than playing in 502 straight games.
I know. I know.
But you look at his
And
career. I mean, to think the Blackhawks got him and Ted Lindsay in the same trade from the Detroit Red Wings.
all because Ted Lindsay was unionizing players.
Yeah, and now there's an award named after him.
Yep.
I mean, it was to think the Red Wings had Terry Sawchuk and Glenn Hall as their two goalies. Glenn Hall was expendable because they had Terry Sawchuk. I mean, it's almost reminds you of the Blackhawks in '92 when they had Ed Belfour and Dominic Hasek. People say,
Yeah.
how do you trade Dominic Hasek? Well, they had Ed Belfour, who was
You had that Belfort.
better than Dominic Hasek was at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
probably, you know, I mean, I love both of those guys, both great goalies, but to me, if I had to choose one for one game, I'd probably take an Ed Belfour.
Well, the other thing that was happening in the 50s was Jimmy Norris owned the Blackhawks. So you had the Norris family owning the Red Wings. And like, well, if anybody who we don't want, we're just going to dump them off to Chicago. Chicago's the wasteland. And between that trade and then the Blackhawks getting a working relationship with the St. Catharines Teepees, which is where they got Pierre Palat, they got Moose Vasco, they got Bobby Hull, they got Stan Mikita. All those guys came through St. Catharines, and that's how they won the Stanley Cup in '61. That's how they made all those trips to the finals in the '60s and early '70s. It all was born out of Jimmy Norris, not just running the Blackhawks as a feeder team for Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his his career stats: 407 wins, played 906 games, 84 career shutouts, had a career goals against average of 2.5 and a career 918 save percentage. I mean, that's ridiculous when you consider the legends of the game he faced every single night, and the fact that the net was 5 times bigger. There was no equipment. I mean, that's those numbers are. I mean, that's why he's Mr. Goalie.
Yeah, there are many goalies, but only one Mr. Goalie. And and the other reason Tommy Ivan loved him was because of his durability. They never carried him second goalie. Their backup goalie was Gunzo.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was no need for let me see here.
Like if anything ever happened to Glenn Hall, Gunzo would have to get in the net. That was their plan B.
He played 8 full seasons for the Hawks before coming out of a game. Or no, I'm sorry, 5 full seasons before coming out of a game back in 1962. And even that season that he suffered that back injury and had to miss, he still played 66 of the 70 games that year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not enough is talked about in his career. And you talk about that year with the Blues, his second year with the Blues, 68-69, they went to the Stanley Cup final, despite only having 19 wins. But he still had 8 shutouts as a 37-year-old goalie, 8 shutouts, and won the Vezina. The Vezina was a little different back then. The Vezina was given to the goalie.
Was like Jennings now.
Yeah, it was given to the goalies, the team that gave up the fewest goals. But wasn't Doug Harvey, one of those Blues teams too? Another one of those Hall of Famers that played on those first couple Blues teams.
Yeah. Doug Harvey and Al Arbor was their top defensive pair.
I mean, even at the end of their careers,
Al Arbor, another 61 Blackhawk.
Yep, another guy that most people associate with his coaching. One of the greatest coaches of all time, the 4 straight Stanley Cups. But he was a heck of a defenseman in his day.
Oh yeah, and that those Hawks teams in the '60s. His nickname was Radar, and Radar was second pair. I don't remember who he skated with because the top pair was always Palat and Vasco. But yeah, that's not a bad guy to have on your second pair.
He was the captain of those teams. They had Al Arbor, Terry Crisp, Norm Denis was another.
Because how many coaches were on the team?
Yeah, I know. Doug Harvey, Glenn Hall, Camille Henry, Ab McDonald, another former Blackhawk, was on those teams. Barclay Plager, he had a pretty good. Bill Plager, all the Plagers were there. Jacques Plante, as you mentioned.
Plager was 60s for Sutter.
Yeah, for sure. But they were all there. Red Berenson, one of their all-time greats, scored 35 goals in a season. Yeah, so I can't wait to see that that documentary. As I said, Glenn Hall is one of those legends of the game that, with each passing year, gets talked about less and less.
And he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be, because first of all, we're lucky to still have him, and like I said, see the movie if you can. You can go find lots of YouTube videos of Glenn Hall interviews. His interviews are always great. He's a funny guy. And the other thing about Glenn was he played all those years without a mask and came out the other side of it. He's a pretty good-looking dude.
Yeah, he came out with a lot fewer scars than some of his teammates did.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they can get that shown here at the Chicago Film Festival. I'll look into seeing how we can maybe help that happen, or at least get them in touch with somebody at the Blackhawks. That sounds like a perfect time to just do a screening, for your season ticket holders or something. Rent a movie theater and screen it out. Have a Q&A. That'd be awesome.
It would be. It would be a lot of, and talk about a great way to embrace. It would be a great way for the Hawks to embrace a piece of their history where somebody else has done all the work for them already.
I love those projects.
You could come in at the last minute and take credit for someone else's work. Who doesn't like that? That Rob Brown had a nice career that way.
Oh boy, that's a deep track right there. Legend. That's a deep track right there. Speaking of legendary players, Alex Ovechkin, first player to ever score 900 goals after he was the first player to score 899, the first player to score 809. He's still doing it, man. I mean, that's going to be a guy that we're all going to be able to say, man, we were lucky to watch his career.
Oh, yeah. And, I love the guys like him where you just watch him play and you're like, okay, this is exactly what he's going to do. And it doesn't matter because no one can stop him. I'm kind of torn about the 900 goal thing just because I know WHA goals aren't counted into NHL totals, because if they were, Gordie Howe would be at 975. But the fact of the matter is, Ovechkin scored 900 at the NHL level, and nobody else has done that.
Right.
And what I thought was interesting was that number 900 was like one of the least Ovechkin-y goals I've ever seen in my life.
Well, he was due.
Yeah, it was a backhander on the goal line where Binnington Binnington was sitting there saying, well, always got the puck over there. He never shoots from there. I don't have to worry about it. And then all of a sudden the puck is between him and the post.
Yeah. And then he tried to steal the puck.
I enjoyed that. I thought
that was fun. I mean, I honestly don't think he would have, he wouldn't have Chris Prongered it and kept it forever. But
no, I think he would have gotten his ass kicked in his own clubhouse for that.
Yeah, no. But I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with like, hey, Ovi, can you, give me a few bucks for this? If you're going to be a villain, he knows he's a villain. He knows he's hated outside of St. Louis and Canada. Be a villain. Embrace it. I enjoyed it. It was a fun little moment.
Well, that was Pronger too with the Blackhawks. in 2010. And I honestly believe that if Chris Pronger had the puck, he would have given it back by now.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm a guy that I love villains. I love rooting for bad guys in pro wrestling. I love rooting for the bad guys in movies. So the league is better when it has multiple villains, people that everybody can agree, except for the fans of that team. And even some of the fans of that team can agree, oh man, I hate this guy. There's not enough of those in today's NHL. That's why, for a few years, one of my favorite players was just because of like he embraced the villainy was Antoine Rousseau. I loved him because he was like, he relished getting booed and being just a dirtbag. I love that.
Ulf Samuelsson.
Yeah. Ulf Samuelsson, former Blackhawks assistant coach.
I say, Dirty Elf played and over where I live, we have a couple of retention ponds, and we had a little itty bitty gator in one of the ponds one time, and I named him Dirty Elf. After all, there's an alligator. I want to give it a hockey name, Dirty Elf. And Dirty Elf either got eaten by a bigger alligator or found a different pond because he's not in there anymore.
Maybe he is the bigger alligator now.
I would have seen him if he was.
But there aren't enough of those guys today. I think probably the first guy that comes to mind is Tom Wilson. I think everybody hates Tom Wilson, but and Brad Marchand for a while was that guy, but I think, he does too many things where you're like, oh man, I like this guy. Like the whole taking a leave of absence from the Florida Panthers so he could coach his buddies U18 team while he deals with the death of his 10-year-old daughter. I mean, stuff like that. You're like, okay, this guy isn't a complete prick. Like he's got a heart and he's very enjoyable. He's very funny, great personality.
Oh yeah.
If Brad Marchand played for the Hawks, there'd be 7,063 jerseys in the United Center every night.
Yep. And the other guy that we can still hate while he's around is Corey Perry.
Yeah, for sure.
And Corey Perry, he leans into it too. At the end of warm-ups, he always shoots a puck into the other net and does all the good bad guy stuff.
Yeah, he Blackhawks legend Corey Perry.
Yes.
He's got 6 goals this season. He's got 6 goals already. And he missed the first few games with a knee injury. It's crazy.
I know. It's like, well, yeah. Why is Anaheim so good? It's like Corey Perry scoring goals. Nobody. Look, I don't care. Joe Quenneville, great coach. Whatever, he fucked up in 2010 with the whole Kyle Beach thing. There's no question about that. Should he have been let back into coaching? I don't know. My feeling is, it's one of these things where, who winds up paying the price? And the fact that Stan Bowman got back into hockey and Mark Bergevin, I don't think ever even got a slap on the wrist.
No, neither did Mark Sheldayoff either. He was part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So some guys just got off pretty much scot-free. So where's the head that rolls? And I guess you could say John McDonough, although John McDonough is, drowning his sorrow sitting on the mountain of cash he made with the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
So Quenneville's back as coach of the Ducks. But not even Joel thought he was going to be getting this kind of production out of Corey Perry.
Well, Perry's with the Kings, remember. Different California team.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I leaned back and scared the shit out of my cat.
Oh, Perry.
For those of you watching, that's Fred.
But the Ducks are doing great.
Corey Perry was at Anaheim again.
Anaheim, LA, whatever.
Yeah.
All late night games, we all fall asleep before they start.
Right, exactly.
But Anaheim's doing great because their young kids are, Cutter Gauthier and Leo Carlson both have 8-game point streaks. They're leading the way. So the narrative that Joe Quenneville hates young players is dying quickly.
Yeah. Anybody who thought Joe Quenneville hated young players never watched him coach the Blackhawks because
he hated young bad players.
Yeah,
he had no problem with young good players.
Yeah, he had no issues at all skating guys like Brandon Saad and Marcus Kruger and Andrew Shaw and you know, even Jordan Henry before he blew his knee out. Just he he loved young guys. Um,
When they were good.
but when they were good. Exactly. If you're going to be a young guy who skates like Brandon Saad, Joel Quenneville's not going to sit you just because you don't have the benefit of experience.
It's interesting to see Gauthier have the start he is after demanding getting traded out of Philly. And, but then Philly's getting some tremendous production early in the year for Trevor Zegras. Separate trades. They weren't traded for each other, but be interesting to see how that turns out. Do the Ducks get better? Because, they got Jamie Drysdale and Zegras from the Ducks. But right now, Ducks are in first place in the Pacific. Hard to argue with what's going on there with these young kids. And that's a team the Blackhawks are trying to emulate. They're taking that next step this year. Utah's taking that next step this year. The Hawks have taken a step. Are they legit contenders for a playoff spot? We'll see.
Yeah, and this brings us to where we can do our weekly hog cranking.
Thank God. I've been been saving it up all morning.
All right, because they haven't. I don't think they've played since the last time we recorded, have they?
No, they have not.
No.
They lost both games to the undefeated Griffins last weekend, and they play tonight and tomorrow home and home against the Milwaukee Admirals.
Yeah, so we're back on the Nick Lardis watch, and at some point, Lardis is at what, 11 games?
11 or 12. I think it's 11. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's not a big rush to bring him up, especially because right now the Hawks are playing well and everybody's healthy, and there's really not. You bring him up, there's nowhere to put him at the moment. So you need to wait until he can have a spot. And injuries will happen. It's the nature of the beast. And it's the same thing with Korchinski and Nolan Allen. Nolan Allen doesn't have a point yet this year, but Nolan Allen plays a different game than Korchinski does. So depending on what the needs are, if somebody gets hurt on the blue line, what their role is will probably dictate whether it's Korchinski or Allen who gets the call.
Yeah. If it's Connor Murphy that's going to miss a few games, Nolan Allen will be up here. If it's, God forbid, Lev Shinoff or Kaiser has to miss a couple games, it will be Korchinski.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, for the time being, they definitely want Lardis to just keep doing what he's doing. And, he's definitely making better puck decisions than he was making in camp. The phrase you used was coaching the junior out of him, and it looks like it's taking.
Yeah. I mean, Jared Nightingale is doing a hell of a job down there.
Yeah.
He's again, much like Jeff Blashill in Chicago, he's excelling because he's putting guys in positions to succeed. He's not loading up lines with all young guys or all veterans. He's using a nice mix of the two, and it's been working. It'll be interesting to see how they do this weekend without Oliver Moore. Who, poor guy, had to take the 5-hour bus ride from Rockford to Grand Rapids and then get on an airplane. Like, he couldn't have made this phone call earlier.
Right. Fly straight from O'Hare to SeaTac.
And it'll be nice that, to see what Landon Slaggert can do. He's down in Rockford now. He's just needs some time to get caught up. He missed a lot of training camp with an injury and missed the first couple of games of the season and just, hasn't been able to get to his game yet this year. So getting to Rockford. And listen, I like Landon Slaggert, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. Very generous with his time. Good quote. Always smiling. He's the type of guy where it's like you see him in the locker room and you're like, how are you the same guy on the ice that just took that guy's head off? Like, another guy who was always like that for me when I was covering AHL was Jack Jury, who's with Colorado now. One of the most smiley, down to earth, nice guys, but would slash the teeth right out of your mouth if he had the opportunity. But let's face it, as much as we all like Landon Slaggert, and he could be an effective bottom six guy for years to come, having him fall down on the draft on the organizational depth chart, it's not the end of the world.
No,
that means you've got really good players coming up. Like Slaggert is a guy. Maybe he could be more than a guy, but if Landon Slaggert is one of your top 4 prospects, your prospect pool isn't that great.
No, not at all. Well, and the next big question is now who has the locker next to Bedard?
I will let you know Monday or Tuesday when we get back in the room. They probably gave it to Oliver Moore. They probably gave it to him.
My assumption.
Yeah, though Moore was closer to the door during camp, but we'll see.
Do they have empty lockers that they could just stick guys in?
They do have more than they need, but they tend to keep those like the ones in the corner or at the very end. But like when a guy is sent down, his locker's gone. It's given. So I would imagine they just give it to Moore because he took his spot.
Yeah.
They're not going to shift too many things around, but I will report live from the locker room probably Tuesday. I doubt they're going to practice on Monday. They'll give them a day off after this long trip.
Yeah, well, also they need time off to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald on Monday.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm sure all those guys, I'm sure Connor Bedard knows every word to that song, and him and Frank Nazar have been singing it together on the road in their hotel room.
In their thing 6 and thing 7.
Yeah, costume. in between the 6-7 memes they share with each other, they've been reminiscing about the Edmund Fitzgerald
that was passed on from the Chippewa on down.
They share 6-7 memes while listening to Gordon Lightfoot on vinyl. I mean, that's what all the kids are doing today.
Well, I think we're just about at time, and we've covered everything.
Yeah. I think we did do a good job. You've got to get back to work. I've got to get my game preview posted and get a pregame nap in because these late night starts are for the birds.
Yeah, need that power nap.
Yeah, and I'll be actually doing the CHGO post game tonight. Be watching the game with those guys and hanging out and doing the show. So check us out over there later tonight if you're not sick of my voice already.
I've got friends allegedly flying in.
Well, there you go.
So we'll see if they can actually get in or not. Yeah, one of these times when you do one of those, I need to do a drop in.
Sure. We can make it happen.
Yeah.
They can completely derail one of their post-game shows.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do it to the poor guys on the rink all the time. They would sit there with their outline and it would they would send me the outline and I would go down the outline and say, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that. Those poor guys. They finally just stopped inviting me because I think I just annoyed them to the point where like, we don't want this guy anymore.
Mission accomplished. And now here you are. You're in charge of the outlines now. So funny how life works out.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened. You're the professional. And why am I doing this?
I started doing it and then you went ahead and did it. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. It's one less thing I have to take care of.
Well,
all right.
We have an outline, but it's just that. It's an outline. We can always go wherever we need to go.
Yeah, we rarely ever stick to. I think today was actually the best we did sticking to our planned outline.
But I definitely enjoyed the hall talk.
Absolutely. I can't wait for that movie. Send me those the info of that group so I can get in contact with them and see if we can make something happen. So that will wrap up this week's episode. We'll probably get back here in the second balcony in a few days to talk some more Blackhawks. In the meanwhile, please make sure you've hit that subscribe button and like the episode and follow wherever you're listening on podcasts around. We appreciate all that. When you hit the subscribe button, as Frank does the 6-7, You don't have to worry about.
This is for the youngsters. This is for the youngsters.
See, every time I see that, I think of Major League 2, not 6.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, if you hit subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, you don't have to worry about when we show up. It will tell you. And I know we've been having some weirdness with the Spotify and audio apps. So hopefully they've figured out those bugs. They're sick of hearing from me over at their tech support, but got to make this well-informed podcast available to all of our dozens of listeners out there.
Yep.
So we appreciate it.
666 listeners.
And we'll be back here in a few days, and we'll talk to everybody then, hopefully after a couple of Blackhawk wins.
All right.